Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at game 6 of my first of two tournaments that I'm playing on this tournament trip that I'm on in Colombia, and I've already spoiled the result to you in the title anyway, so no need in hiding it. But I'm very happy with this game, probably the best game I've played in my whole chess career so far. I'm playing 2150, very young FIDE master, I believe, born in 2010, so 15 years old, but very strong. He in the previous game he just beat the number 2 seed of the tournament, or number 3 seed, 2350 FIDE master, and I'm playing with the black pieces. So I was just trying to play a good game, see what happens, learn from the game, get some experience, our general goals on this trip, but I definitely did not expect it to go as well as it did. So without further ado, let me show you my favorite game of this tournament so far, and probably of my whole life. So I'm playing he's playing the English opening. We transpose into knight f3 d5, a queen's gambit, and after g3, I mentioned this on the previous video, here we get the Catalan with bishop b4 check. The idea of this line is simply to place this bishop on d2 and then just go back with the bishop to e7 and play this line. So bishop g2, castles, this is all theory, knight bd7, queen c2, c6, bishop f4, this is all the main line. And here I hit him with my little first surprise. The main move here, if I'm not mistaken, is just b6, bishop b7, rook c8, and play this semi-Slav kind of position, closed Catalan, and it's going to be a long strategic game. I play the move a5, which is still not that offbeat. It's a move that sometimes gets played to gain space on a4, and it's a useful move in general, and there's nothing wrong with playing it on this move, but it did surprise him a little bit. He spent some time, plays the move b3. The main move, and the move that I was preparing, was the logical move rook d1, although then I would have played the same idea that I had prepared, just that I would have had it analyzed even more in depth. But nevertheless, he plays b3, and here I hit him with the very big surprise. And this is an idea, if you're more interested in these little details, I learned, my coach, he gave me this recommendation, of course, so all credit to him. And also I learned this by seeing a game of international master Rudik Makaryan. So a very interesting opening idea to go b5 on this move. And it works against b3, and it also works against the main move, rook d1. And so here, the only move that white really has in order to conserve his advantage is to play the move c5, which my opponent did indeed play. In case of something like, for example, taking on b5, I've already completely equalized the position. If bishop c7, then just queen e8. And let's say another move like rook d1, for example. After bishop a6 and b4 next, my bishop is very well placed. I have the c-file for my rook, and this is already an advantage for black. But my opponent finds the best move, c5. And here I'm not in book anymore, so I'm not really in opening theory because he mixed it up with this move b3. Nevertheless, the ideas are similar to the main line, and I'm very happy with the fact that after a little bit of thought, I found all the correct opening moves here. Knight e4, starting with knight e4, and this is very important because if we do not play this move, then our opponent is going to be able to play knight bd2, and we're going to be stuck. And we're not going to be able to play the ideas that we end up playing later, as we'll see in the game. Because let's say h6, and this is the worst moment for my internet to be lagging. Okay, it's back. h6, let's say knight bd2, and now we cannot play knight e4, of course, because this square is already controlled. And my opponent might even be able to play e4 in the upcoming future. So that's why knight e4 is a very important move, knight bd2, and here I play g5. And this is my first and one of the only real mistakes that I actually make in this game. And the reason for this is that g5 is actually the correct move in the other order, where instead of b3, the rook is on d1. And the idea of g5 is, well, mainly what happened in the game, if knight takes e4, d takes e4, in the other line, white is just losing a piece simply because the knight is attacked and the bishop is attacked. And so after something like queen takes e4, then we just collect this bishop and we're doing completely fine. We're up a piece for 2 pawns, but black does not have enough compensation. However, after knight takes e4, d takes e4, he has this move knight to e5 in this specific variation. And the idea is that after g takes f4, this is not easy to see at all without an engine, so of course I don't blame him for not finding this. He has knight takes c6, and after queen e8, queen takes e4, bishop f6, and if you reach this position in your calculation, it's still not completely clear because yes, I have a piece, he has 2 pawns, but I do have issues on this diagonal. Now, after queen takes f4, which is the only move, so and in reality, the diagonal has nothing to do. Queen takes f4, and then after something like bishop b7, a very simple calm move like rook fd1. And apparently in this position, the 3 pawns are of course enough to compensate for the piece. So this was the way that my opponent could get an advantage out of the opening. Of course, whenever you play these offbeat lines, there are going to be some refutations, but if they're very difficult to find over the board, then that's how you get a game and that's how you get an interesting position. So it's this little balance that you have to do when preparing openings of deciding how dubious do you want to go, how easy is it to punish your dubiousness, how interesting is the position. You have to make all of these calculations and then decide whether you want to go for some interesting opening surprise / novelty or not. Nevertheless, even if we would have reached this position, the engine is still only giving plus 0.8 and I'm up a piece, so it would be a very interesting practical game. However, my opponent is not willing to play down a piece, so very logically he plays the move bishop e3, and now the whole idea of this move is to play f5, and it's a very funny looking pawn structure, right? With all these pawns on the 5th and 6th rank, but I gained some space. This pawn on g5 is actually a very good pawn. There's no real way to take advantage of the weak position of my king, which is actually not weak at all. Yes, I've pushed my pawns, but how are you going to take advantage of that? So my opponent plays knight e5, and this is exactly the point. When you have a non-standard position where you know the plans and the ideas slightly better than your opponent, it's very possible that they will start making some imprecise moves, even if at the very beginning the engine gives a slight objective advantage. Because let's remember, the advantage that the engine gives is based off the assumption that both players will find the absolute best moves in the position. But if I have a position where I'm slightly in a disadvantage based on the engine, but my opponent isn't going to find best move after another, and I am, then in a practical sense, it is a very good opening to play. So my opponent plays knight e5. I trade on e5. Knight takes e2, queen takes e2, and we reach this interesting position, close to equal. But both sides have possibilities to play for a win, and just a very non-standard, non-typical position. And something I've realized along this tournament, if I feel comfortable, then I can do very, very well. So I play bishop a6, simply, maybe creating some threats on e2. He might want to play e4 at some moment. We were pinning him here, so he has to go rook e1. Might play b5. And this bishop, as you will see later in the game, it looks like it's not doing anything for now. And it looks like it's the bad piece because of our pawn structure. But this bishop, this little guy here, will be the MVP when it comes to winning this game. So I play rook f7, very happy with this move as well, a very good move. The idea is that we want to play something like either queen f8 to pressure this pawn on c5, or queen to e8, potentially getting the queen over here. But in order to liberate this queen from the protection of this pawn, because right now there's 2 attackers and 2 defenders, we need to add another defender to this square, or to this pawn on g5. Rook d1, rook g7, queen c1, and my opponent is already slightly drifting in the wrong direction. I'm making useful moves that are helping my position, whereas my opponent is just sort of unsure of what to do. The main thing that white wants to achieve in this position is to play something like f3, bishop f2, and e4. But as you will see, if he doesn't do that, by the way, then I just have a space advantage and I'm better. So he needs to find this breakthrough. But as you will see, it's actually not so easy to make this happen. I play h5. Once again, very, very happy with this move. One of the top moves of the engine once again, and you will see the idea very shortly. And that is that after f3, I play the move g4. Why do I play g4? There was a lot of nuances here. The main idea is that after bishop f2, he wants to play e4, but I'm going to be threatening to take on f3, and after bishop f3, pawn takes e4. You will see that in a second. Bishop f4. Instead of bishop f2, he goes bishop f4. The idea is now to play e4, and I play queen e8 because I have to get my rook off of the d file. And the reason for that being that, let's just make a random move, like rook a7. Now he would be able to play the move e4. And if I take, I believe, yes, I just cannot take back because he has the queen is pinned by the rook. And so queen e8, I think there was another nuance as well. E4, yes, sorry, the idea is not to take here, but rather to take on f3. This is what I meant. And now he would have even bishop takes f3, and after I take back, the point is we don't want to have the rook on the same file as the queen, or better said, the queen on the same file as the rook. I played the move queen e8, e4, and now I was very confused because I thought, he couldn't actually play this because of the fact that what I just described. I'm going to take on f3, and if bishop f3, now I have pawn takes e4, and the bishop cannot take back, and this was the whole point of moving the queen away from d8, because now I could indeed just take the bishop and win the game. So because of that, I was a little bit confused. Then I understood what my opponent's idea was, as you will see in a second, but in reality, this was just a little bit desperate, and this is what happens when your opponents feel uncomfortable. Obviously, you're not going to win a game without your opponent making any mistakes, but the way to induce them to make some mistakes is by putting pressure and putting them in an uncomfortable situation. I take on f3, and his idea was to take on f5 after I take on g2 to play f6. Now after rook g6 takes, and we reach this position. So he liberated himself a little bit with this e4 move, but I am slightly better just because his pawns are weak. I have the open king, which actually might seem like it's my king that's weak, but no, there's no way for him to take advantage of my king. Whereas me, I'm going to now put the rooks on these files, I'm going to push this pawn, and my pieces are doing a very good job in attacking white's king. And, as you will see in a second, remember this little guy. What a beautiful bishop taking control of the f1 square, never allowing him to make use of the f file. I play b4, exactly with this purpose. Queen c2, queen h7, best move, played it very quickly, very happy about this move. Of course, he has to be careful because now I'm threatening rook takes g3 with check and taking the queen on c2. So he plays queen d2, and now, once again, I'm very, very happy with this moment because winning a winning game against a strong player is not easy at all. You make one imprecise move and you can crack, and you can collapse, and you can even lose. So maybe you've heard the saying before that the most difficult thing in chess is winning a winning game, converting an advantage. But I play h4, very precise move, queen e3, rook f8, we're putting a rook on the open f file. Now rook to g4, threatening rook takes f4. According to the engine, there are some minor inaccuracies, but getting into all the little details of all the small and precise moves would be very difficult to understand. It would take a lot of time. I'm not a grandmaster. I'm not saying that I'm 2500 strength whatsoever. It is a practical game of chess after all. But the move rook g4, threatening rook takes f4. My opponent plays rook d4, defending this bishop. h3 check, king back to g1, and now you will see the idea that I had in a few moves' time. So first, we're going to tickle it a little bit. My opponent, he's been under pressure. He has 8 minutes on the clock. I still have 37, so now I was just in the zone, calculating like crazy, trying to have maximum concentration. And I play queen f5, queen d2, rook f7, rook c1, and here the move that pretty much won me the game. This was my idea all along. I was just preparing this. I play bishop to d3. Point being that if first of all, he has 4 minutes. So this move came as an absolute shocker to him. I want to put my bishop on e4, where it is even more of a monster than it is right now. And so my opponent, with 4 minutes on the clock, he didn't really know what to do. He decided to take the bishop, but this was my whole idea. Now after queen takes f4, we trade into this endgame, and this is just a winning rook endgame, even though I'm not up any pawns, simply because of the activity of my rooks, the fact that he has no open files, and the weakness of the pawns on e5 and on c5. King g7, rook f1, we trade, rook d4. I'm very happy with this conversion. I'm sorry that I'm constantly, let's not use any swear or inappropriate language, let's just say that I'm being a bit full of myself, but I do want to share the goods and the bads with you. So if I'm happy, I'm not going to hide it, of course. Rook d4, a precise move. Rook e4 right now would be a losing king and pawn endgame. This doesn't work. And if I play king to g6, it is also winning. It is also winning, but the point is that after rook f3, it is a little bit unpleasant. Because yes, I am going to play, well, apparently rook d4 anyway, and I'm going to go on the second rank. But he has counterplay with rook f6 and collecting these pawns. And there's no way for me to actually prevent rook to f6. So this would have still been winning, but very tricky. And whenever we try to convert a winning position, the most important thing is to avoid any tricks and to avoid any counterplay from our opponents. Where did I learn this? I really recommend the course that was previously on Chess24, but now on chess.com, I believe it's called Prophylactic Thinking, Converting an Advantage by Artur Yusupo. Also, of course, that's me being a modern kid. There's many books on this topic. Anyway, point being, very happy with the precise move rook to d4. After king f2, the idea now is, of course, that after king to e2, I can now play king g6. And if he plays rook to f3, now I have the move rook e4 check. And the difference is that we provoked his king to come onto e2 to defend this d2 square. But now if rook e3, then I have the move king f5, and I'm just in time to defend this rook and to go king takes e5. So he plays king f2, king g6 anyway. If he were to play rook f3 now, then I have rook d2 check. So that's already an extra tempo in comparison to the other line because I have this check already in place. King f5, king e4. Now we're collecting the pawns because he blocked the f file for his rook to gain any counterplay. g4 check, king g5. He tries a little bit, but my pawns are just way faster than his. And here, this is just a completely winning endgame. Last final trick by him. He didn't want to resign. Rook f1. Even rook b1 is winning because I can just give a check at the end of the line on g1. But little funny idea. If I make a queen, then he's checkmating me. But of course, I'm not going to fall for that. I could have played rook b1 directly. Played rook b3 just to be safe. And now after rook b1, I am promoting and I'm winning the game. So with this game alone, I gained about 12 rating points. I'm way above 2100 now, so the tournament has been going very well. And I'm just very glad that at least one of these games was a win against a higher rated opponent. I'm very happy in the way that it happened. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you for the last 3 games in the coming days to analyze the last games on this tournament, the first tournament on this trip to Colombia. Also, I'm going to be uploading a tournament routine video, so a little more edited video of what these days look like, how I prepare, when I get up, the tournament hall, all of these things. If you want to support me on this journey, get a little behind the scenes, then of course, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to check out my Patreon, which is still a little bit empty, but I'm going to be uploading behind the scenes content and chess improvement content there as well, you're welcome to check it out. And of course, if you want to work with me one-on-one, once I finish this tournament, of course, then you can email me, which the email is on the website that's linked in the description to the video. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye. Wow.